Whitemoor Prison was opened in 1992 and is located in Cambridgeshire. It's a Category A men's prison with a rocky history. It went into lockdown for 2 days after an explosion went off in one of the wings. A prison officer was shot when IRA members broke out. Today we will be looking at current and former inmates of Whitemoor Prison. 1. Paul Clark. Paul Clark used to drink on the streets of Ipswich, and through this drinking the 41-year-old met 15-year-old Lorraine Thorpe. They fell out with a woman, Rosalind Hunt, who was part of this drinking crowd. They argued over a dog, and in early August 2009 the pair lured 41-year-old Rosalind Hunt to their flat in Ipswich. They tortured her, and after a few days they then took her life. On the 9th of August 2009, a member of the public rang the police to raise concerns about the safety of Hunt. Officers found her in her property. Days after the murder of Rosalind Hunt, the pair decided to take the life of Lorraine's own 43-year-old father, Desmond Thorpe, in order to silence him from implicating them in the first murder to police. Desmond's body was found by the police on the morning of the 10th of August after they were told a man had passed away in Limerick Close. His body was found only hours after the discovery of Rosalind Hunt's. Police immediately announced that they suspected the murders were linked and arrested both Paul Clark and 15-year-old Lorraine Thorpe. They were both convicted of the murders on the 3rd of August 2010. Paul Clark was sentenced to life imprisonment with a min term of 27 years. Lorraine Thorpe was sentenced to life imprisonment with a min term of 14 years. Thorpe officially became Britain's youngest female double murderer, being only 15 at the time. Lorraine Thorpe went to her first parole hearing in March this year. The parole board stated, "We can confirm that a panel of the parole board refused the release of Lorraine Thorpe. The panel also refused to recommend a move to an open prison. She remains in Foston Hall Prison." In September 2014, Paul Clark was found dead in Whitemoor Prison. It's believed that he took his own life. 2. Douglas Samuel. In November 2012, Douglas Samuel attacked and took the life of his girlfriend, Gaynor Bale, in their Hackney home. Neighbours called the police after hearing the screaming and shouting. When they arrived, they found her slumped in the hallway. Douglas Samuel said he hadn't meant to cause so much harm, but he had regularly beaten and abused her. In 2013, he was initially sentenced to 20 years in prison, which was brought down to 18 on appeal. He was sent to Whitemoor. In 2019, he attacked a prison officer, fracturing his skull, and got 2 years for the assault. The 45-year-old remains in Whitemoor Prison. 3. Royon Jackson. In 1989, Royon Jackson took the life of Stephen Raven. He was given a life sentence and served 16 years. He was released in 2006. On the 3rd of October 2008, he took the life of convicted ex-offender Gordon Boone. They had met in a bail hostel. In March 2010, he went to trial and was convicted of the murder. He was given a whole life order. He first served at Long Lartin Prison, but in 2016 he attacked another inmate, Nathan Matthews, who was serving 33 years for the murder of his stepsister. Royon Jackson poured boiling hot butter on his head. He was then moved to Whitemoor Prison, where he died in March 2019 of cancer at the age of 52. 4. Mark Fellows. On the 26th of July 2015, Paul Macy, known as Mr. Big, who was a very well-known figure in Manchester, was shot dead outside his home on Manchester Road in Clifton. It's believed Paul Macy threatened Mark Fellows as he was selling in his area. The Greater Manchester Police offered £50,000 reward for information pertaining to the killing. Mark Fellows was arrested for Paul Macy's murder, as well as a second murder of John Kinsella, which is believed to be gang-related. Along with him, his fellow criminal, Stephen Boyle, was also arrested. Boyle was described as Fellows' brother-in-arms and was accused of acting as a spotter, watching the victims and providing assistance to the gunman, Mark Fellows. At the trial, evidence from a Garmin fitness watch with a GPS function found in Mark Fellowes' house was used to show that he had travelled from his home to a field opposite Paul Macy's home. Mark Fellowes was found guilty of the murders of both Paul Macy and John Kinsella and was given a whole life order. Stephen Boyle was convicted of the murder of John Kinsella. While serving his time in Whitemoor prison, in Feb 2019, Mark Fellowes was seriously injured when he was slashed by another prisoner. He was airlifted to hospital. He was moved from Whitemoor prison to Wakefield, where this year he was stabbed by a fellow inmate. He remains in Wakefield prison. 5. Kamal Borgus. Kamal Borgus is an Algerian terrorist who was imprisoned for his involvement in a 2002 terrorist plot. It's alleged that Kamal Borgus, along with several others, planned to attack the London Underground using poison. He was charged with conspiracy to commit public nuisance by the use of poisons and sentenced to 17 years in prison. He was also sentenced to life imprisonment for the 2003 murder of Detective Constable Stephen Oak. Officer Stephen Oak went to a property that Kamal Borgus was at with the intent of arresting others due to terrorism-related offences. Kamal Borgus got spooked by this, as he had only arrived in the UK on the back of a lorry 3 years before. He got a kitchen knife and took Officer Stephen Oak's life. Kamal Borgus serves his sentence at Whitemoor Prison. He has spent several months in segregation there. His mid-term is 20 years and he is having a parole hearing for release next year. He remains in Whitemoor Prison. 6. Kenneth Noi. Kenneth Noi was acquitted in 1985 of the murder of a police officer in the grounds of his home, but was convicted in 1986 of conspiracy to handle stolen goods from the Brinksmat robbery. He was sentenced to 14 years. He served 8 years. While on licence, he murdered Stephen Cameron during a road rage incident. He fled to Spain but was arrested a few years later. In 2000, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a min-term of 16 years. He served his time in Whitemoor Prison. The 72-year-old Kenneth Noi was released on licence in June 2019 after serving just 20 years. 7. Michael Still. On the 6th of December 1995 in Essex, drug dealers Tony Tucker, Patrick Tate and Craig Rolfe were shot dead in a Range Rover on a small farm track. They were found the morning after by a farmer and his friend. The key witness was a police informant, Darren Nichols from Braintree, Essex, who gave evidence against his former friends, 2 men, Jack Arthur Williams of Brockford and Michael John Still. They were convicted of the murders on the 20th of January 1998 and sentenced to life imprisonment with 25 years min. Questions were raised over the reliability of the mobile phone records used to corroborate this informant's testimony. In the 2 decades after their sentence, the pair unsuccessfully challenged their convictions. On the 25th of January 2021, after a parole board hearing, it was announced that Jack Williams would be released from prison on licence after serving 23 years. His 25-year sentence was reduced by 2 years in 2018 due to his good conduct while incarcerated. A new parole hearing was to be had this year, but it was delayed for Michael Still until later next year. Both men have always proclaimed their innocence in the Essex boys' murders. 80-year-old Michael Still remains in Whitemoor Prison. 8. Amman Khan. Amman Khan's home in Stoke-on-Trent was raided by counter-terrorist police in 2008, but there was insufficient evidence to charge him. In 2010, on return from Pakistan, Khan was one of a group of 9 men arrested. They all pled guilty to Al-Qaeda-inspired terrorism offences. Khan received a min-term of 8 years. Khan was to remain in prison for as long as it was necessary to keep the public safe. Khan's sentence was changed to a 16-year term, which allowed him to be automatically released after serving 8 years. He was released from Whitemoor Prison in December 2018 on licence and completed the Healthy Identity Intervention Programme, which is designed to address the root causes of terrorism. He was considered a success story. He was used as a case study and was friends with the Cambridgeshire University rehabilitation team. They argued that less than 5% of terrorists such as Khan would attack again. The terms of Khan's temporary release licence did not allow him to travel to London. Special permission would have been needed for him to participate in Cambridge University's Learning Together 5-year celebration. In 2019, he was given the special permission to celebrate with the university who had rehabilitated and helped him. Khan sat quietly during the celebration event, attending storytellings and writing workshops, even giving feedback on one. He then stabbed 2 Learning Together organisers in the chest, killing them and injuring 3 others. He was wearing an electronic tag and a fake suicide jacket when he was shot by the Met Police. He died from his injuries. Thanks for watching. Until next time.